Hey, how is everyone doing? 2 minutes in the box with Gordo. Today's March 10th, 2025. Today we're recapping last night's games and over the weekend, the latest in the standings. Ovechkin getting closer to Wayne Gretzky. Easy, hardest schedule remaining in the NHL. Jonathan Taves return on the ice, and he's in the neighborhood. And who's also in the neighborhood? The Rat, Brad Marchand is in South Florida and as a Florida Panther officially. And we'll be talking about tonight's games. First up, let's recap last night's games. A fourth of the league was playing yesterday, and the New Jersey Devils, the Devils, somewhat still alive without Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton, winning against the Philadelphia Flyers 3-1. Very underwhelming game. I mean, Dawson Mercer getting the empty netter, but it was just very stalemate. I mean, there was a lot of like, okay, Eric Holla, I remember him, and then you got Cody Glass, Luke Hughes. He's having a better second half of the season, and Jamie Drysdale, fourth goal season. I mean, I hope this kid gets it together. His career, like he was supposed to be a very good offensive, defensive type of guy, great skater, but I mean, it's still keep going along. But yeah, I'll say this: the Devils they got the lead a little bit in the standings in their division, but they're barely holding on. I'm saying this, they are barely holding on right now. And let's go to the next game. Seattle Kraken against the Washington Capitals. Shane Wright, I gotta say, Shane Wright is having one heck of a second half of the season. He's finally found his game. He's finally developing into the player that everybody thought he would be. And 15 goals. I mean, not too shabby for the former fourth overall pick. He's done well for himself. And I gotta say, you know, Seattle's got a very good, young, bright future ahead of itself. And to top of all that, Shane Wright, he could be on the pace for 20 goals this season. He's having a huge improvement. And if he had to do it again, I personally would have done, for him, if I would him, I would have just played in Europe, developed my game, and my stock wouldn't drop from 1 to 4 in that 2022 draft class. Yeah, Burakovsky and Larson got it, but the Capitals, though, the Capitals just keep on winning. They keep on winning. Dylan Strome is just one of the most underrated players in the NHL. Dylan Strome's got 19 goals this season. It's just like, and he's got 40 plus assists. He is a very underrated player. This Washington Capitals team, they have been the biggest surprise in the NHL. And Ovechkin getting his 33rd of the year, another empty netter, and he is getting closer to breaking Wayne Gretzky's record. He is currently at 886, and he's got 9 more to break Wayne Gretzky's record. He's basically 8 away tying and 9 away breaking it. It could happen. It could happen. We got to keep on trucking with this. We got to see how this is going to turn out. But Alex Ovechkin, he has got that time breaking that record, and he's going to break. He's going to, if it weren't for lockouts, if it weren't for that lockout and the worldwide stoppage 5 years ago, Ovechkin would be already broken that record. He would have been basically about 900 something goals right now if it weren't for the lockouts and the worldwide shutdown. Yeah, good for Ovechkin and good for the Washington Capitals. What a surprising turnaround. Last year, they barely made the playoffs. This year, they are the top seed team in the Eastern Conference. Just wow. And then we have this great game right here between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Minnesota Wild. The final game between Crosby and Malkin Letang against Marc-Andre Fleury, the best friends. And, that team right there back in the day with those guys, they were a dynasty and they were reckoned. They were unbelievable. Gino and Sid, they both got goals in this game. And I gotta say, Sid's unbelievable. He broke Wayne Gretzky's like points per game record, and he's just a phenom still at his age. I say Sidney Crosby is going to be he's a top five player of all time, in my personal opinion. He's top five. And Marc-Andre Fleury, he has got to be one of the best goalies I've ever seen play. And it's sad to see that this is the final matchup between Fleury against the Penguins, and Fleury's going to be retiring at the end of the year. Minnesota's got to get it together. They got a lot of injuries, and they got to make sure they maintain, their point streak. But Colorado, they are now in the third place in the Central Division. And Minnesota, they better be praying to get healthy just in time for the playoffs. They might be playing Vegas in the first round. And boy, that's going to be a quick one, about 5, maybe 6 games, but we'll have to see right there. And speaking of struggling, the Winnipeg Jets have been struggling in the last 6 games, losing to the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Hurricanes' new faces, Mark Jankowski and Logan Stanghoven, impact players right away. Stanghoven scoring his debut with the Hurricanes, and Jankowski, 2 goals. Just a good game on that. And Brent Burns is 40 years old. Happy birthday to him. Carolina Hurricanes, they technically have sole second placing in that Metropolitan Division. And like I said, the Winnipeg Jets, they got someone creeping on them. We'll get to that part. But now to the next game, we go to the Columbus Blue Jackets, New York Rangers. Blue Jackets are creeping. They are doing well. They are creeping behind the Devils. They are very close. And Adam Fantilli does it again. Another hat trick. He is an underrated bona fide superstar. Columbus has the underrated players who are bona fide superstars in their own way, in their own right. They are that type of team that has a lot of homegrown talent and nobody knows about. This team, this Columbus Blue Jackets squad, and Zach Renski breaking another record, breaking Rick Nash's points record and assist record. And Renski's got 48 assists so far this year. It's just like, wow. People are going to be forgetting about Rick Nash, and people in today's hockey world in Columbus, they'll be talking Zach Renski. They're going to put a statue of Zach Renski because Zach Renski has made a major impact, and he is the face of the franchise right now. He has done spectacular for the Blue Jackets. And the Rangers, though, those valuable points, it's not going to be easy for them. They like losing those 2 points, in crucial games. And we're getting to the stretch that getting those 2 points in wins and an overtime loss, shootout loss, it's very, very crucial. I mean, and the Rangers got to get it, but I don't know if they can make it. As for Columbus Blue Jackets, though, they are phenomenal. Dean Evason deserves the Coach of the Year award for what he has done. Everybody thought they were going to be a basement dwelling team, with Johnny Gaudreau's unexpected passing. Columbus could be a third place metropolitan team at this rate that they're going right now. And we go to a very close game between the LA Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas losing this game, I got to say, they don't look invincible against the LA Kings. The Kings, they could be very dangerous if they play their cards right. They could be a second place team in the Pacific Division. The Oilers, they've been so and so lately, but LA could make, like, if they play the Oilers, I believe LA could beat the Edmonton Oilers in the playoffs. It was a 6-5 game, very close. Vegas tried to get back at it, and Hurdle got a hat trick, but it wasn't enough. It was not enough at all. But Jack Eichel, 57 assists this season. I mean, oh my goodness. Just unreal. Jack Eichel is that. I mean, like, people thought he was done in Buffalo, but he is better than ever. And Riley Smith making an impact back in Vegas. Very impressive indeed. Very impressive indeed. And Brett Clark, he's making an impact with Quinn Byfield. Like, you know, if I think LA should just play him more minutes, and I think Brett Clark is going to be next season. I would not be surprised that he is going to be playing a lot more, and he's going to be the top dog in the minutes played in the LA Kings on the back end. All right, now we go over to the Dallas Stars and Vancouver Canucks. Vancouver, it sucks to be them. It's really sucks to be the Canucks right now because those points are slipping away. And the Dallas Stars, though, Mika Rantanen getting another goal, and Carolina Hurricane fans, oh yeah, they're like he just acted like he didn't want to be. He acted like he didn't want to be there, and he was just like, okay, now I'm in my team I prefer to go to. Now I'm just gonna let loose and go crazy because hey, I just didn't want to play in Raleigh. Now I want to go play in Dallas, bigger market, blah blah blah. But yeah, I'll tell you, Dallas has got a very strong team, and Winnipeg better be scared because Dallas is creeping up in the standings. Though they are creeping up in the standings. And let's get to the final game: Anaheim Ducks and the New York Islanders. Islanders not gaining any ground, but the Ducks do get ground because 2 points is very valuable right now. It is like a gold rush at this time of year. They got to get into the playoffs in some capacity, some way. But the Ducks, though, very impressive game indeed, 4-1. And looking at these standings right now, Florida Panthers, 83 points, 4 points ahead of the Leafs and five ahead of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the Florida Panthers, they're invincible right now. And you got the Washington Capitals at 92, Hurricanes 80, and the Devils at 74. And currently in the wild card, we've got the Blue Jackets at 70. They are 4 points behind the Devils for third in the Metropolitan. And then you got the Ottawa Senators at 69 points. And they are ways behind the Tampa Bay Lightning for that third spot in the Atlantic Division. This right here, guys, you've got the Rangers 68 points, 1 point behind the Senators, and 2 points behind the Blue Jackets for a wild card spot. The Red Wings are somewhat still in it, but as of late, the Red Wings, they are not the team that, Tom McCollum say play bleeping hockey. Yeah, I say the Red Wings, they really shot themselves in the foot. They only got Mrazek in the trade deadline. They really screwed it up. The Red Wings, at this rate, we'll get to the Red Wings in a sec, but Montreal and Boston in the Isles, they are somewhat still in this wild card chase. They are still in it, but we'll have to see in the next few days, though. And then out west, you've got Winnipeg at 92, Dallas at 86. 86 points. They're six behind Winnipeg for that top spot in the Central Division and potentially a top spot in the NHL. That's that is crazy, 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 cray, cray right there. And you got Colorado at third, and then you've got Vegas, Edmonton, and LA, the usual suspects in the Pacific Division. Yeah, that right there is getting close to the gauntlet. And the Oilers are four behind Vegas, and then seven for LA behind Vegas. Yeah, and we're going to see a consecutive fourth time between Edmonton and LA potentially. And then during the wild card, you've got Minnesota at the first spot. They are 2 points behind Colorado. And Minnesota, they are struggling. They don't have their star players. They're banged up and injured. I think it was a very underwhelming trade deadline for them. And I see that they might be a wild card team. And then Calgary, they still have possession of the final wild card spot. Vancouver losing last night. They still have 69, including St. Louis Blues and Utah Hockey Club at 66, and the Ducks gaining ground at 63. So basically, Vancouver and St. Louis are 1 point behind and 4 points behind for Utah, and Anaheim 7 points behind Calgary. Yeah, right there. Something tells me it's going to come down the wire. It's very exciting and climatic as it is. And now looking at these NHL schedules, the strength, the easiest and hardest schedule. And take a guess, everyone. Who's got the hardest schedule left in the NHL? I found it. The Detroit Red Wings have the hardest schedule left, 21 games to go. They're currently ranked 21 in the power rankings, and the average opponent ranking is at 11.05. They have the hardest schedule remaining in the NHL. I gotta say, the Red Wings, they could have had help, but boy, the eyes are playing. Looks like the eyes are fraud right now. That is pretty damn tragic for the Red Wings. They had momentum finally. Everyone was healthy. They were playing their game under Tom McClellan, but it doesn't seem that they learned a lesson. They should have done more at the deadline and got some momentum. Steve Eichmann is holding those draft picks hostage and like a baby. I mean, it's not looking good for the Red Wings. The Red Wings, looking at this right now, the strength of their schedule, they have the hardest right now. Columbus has got the second hardest, but they are in a very unique situation as a final, as one of the wild cards teams. And I tell you, Columbus is a dangerous team. I think this is going to be a heavy motivator for them. They are one of those teams. And the Buffalo Sabres, though, oh my goodness, the Buffalo Sabres, they have the third hardest schedule. This team is not making the playoffs. They are just a dumpster fire. They got to get it together. I don't know what happened. They have no culture and they got to do something because it used to be a proud franchise and now it's just an embarrassment to the league. The Ducks, they have on a hard schedule, but the other one who's surprising is the Winnipeg Jets. A top team in the NHL has the fifth hardest schedule in the NHL. I gotta say, Winnipeg, they've been struggling lately. Statistically speaking, the last 6 games are 2-3-1. That is a sign that they're gonna have a tough time. I think they're barely gonna hold on to the Central Division at this point because Dallas is creeping. And same thing, Minnesota, they're barely holding on to that wild card. They're in the top 10 of hardest schedules, and they're all banged up. And then you've got the Rangers and the Isles. Highly disappointing. They're in the hardest schedule category. Then you get the Penguins. No surprise there. Seattle Kraken. And then Montreal. They're fighting for their wild card, trying to get into a wild card spot. And they're in the 11th. And you've got LA, and LA's a playoff team, and they're 12th hardest schedule. Philadelphia, they're 13th, and they're a non-playoff team, and they got a somewhat easy schedule towards the end. And then you've got Calgary fighting for their playoff lives, along with Vancouver. They are even, literally even in this ranking of hardest schedule. And Utah in the middle, they look like they're ready to be getting into that final wild card spot. Tampa Bay, I mean, they're enjoying this joyride. I mean, they are looking good. They're feeling good. They rejuvenated and they have never been better in the first time in the last few years. And then you got the Sharks, though. Sharks got they're a team that's young and exciting, and they are in. They're still young. They're a team that is how I'd say they're a young team. They are a team that is like gonna have an easy, fun schedule the rest of the way, and it's a good confidence booster right there. Nashville, they've been the biggest disappointment in the NHL. I can't believe they have somewhat of an easy schedule towards the end, but I just think Nashville's got a lot of fixing to do in the offseason. And then you got Toronto. Toronto's still like one of those teams that is the top team in the Eastern Conference. They're second in the Atlantic. I say Toronto's going to, like they're gonna be almost in that fringe. I mean, them in Florida. They're gonna be very close to the end of the season. It's gonna come down to the wire. And you got the Blackhawks and the Bruins. Both teams missing the playoffs. And then you got the Florida Panthers. They are they have one of the easiest schedules towards the end and looks pretty promising. It looks promising. And so does Dallas, though, and Edmonton and Carolina. The better the teams are, the better the teams are, the easier the schedule. Carolina, Colorado. The Devils surprised me because they have a lot of key injuries, a lot of key injuries. And I still think they might be a third place team. They're barely a third place team right now in the Metropolitan. They're going to be a wild card. Then you've got Vegas. Vegas, they're a top team. And Washington, one of the best teams in the NHL. They got somewhat an easy schedule. The Blues, though, the St. Louis Blues, they're trying to get into the playoffs, and they have the second easiest schedule. And then the Ottawa Senators, they have the easiest schedule of them all. Yeah, look at that. Just look at that. I mean, this is gonna be a fun night and a fun week to watch hockey. Yeah, and going back to Ovechkin though, he's getting close. 886. He's 9 away of breaking Wayne Gretzky's record, and basically he is 8 away of tying Wayne Gretzky. Just wow. Ovi is one of the statesmen, the goats of hockey of all time. Just wow. And all right, now we get to a potential comeback by a former Stanley Cup dynasty captain of the Chicago Blackhawks and former one of the best two-way players, Captain Series Jonathan Toews. He was spotted at the skate zone in Lake Worth, Florida for the last 2 weeks, skating on his own, skating with former teammate Dan Carcello and a few other ex-NHL players doing and potentially making a comeback in the NHL for the first time in 2 years. Some say that, it was a lingering COVID effect, but I don't buy the whole COVID narrative. I don't buy it for one sec. The real story is sad. His longtime girlfriend slash fiance broke his heart. It is pretty darn sad. It's pretty sad that he went on this spiritual journey for the last couple of years. He like Jonathan Toews just went to the eat, pray, and love routine. He went to Costa Rica. He went to Bali. He went to India. He's been training in Palm Beach, somewhere in Palm Beach. He could be anywhere. He could be in Boca Raton. He can be in Delray. He can be at Lake Worth. He could be at Palm Beach Gardens. He could be anywhere at this point. Jonathan Toews, you know, but the bet is, can he still play? And he's been gone for 2.5 years. Is he going to be a guy, be reliable? And let's see if any team, would take him. It didn't end well in Chicago. I just hope, pray that he is mentally healthy and he's cured from his personal distress in his life. And I would not be surprised that every team in the NHL, including the Blackhawks, will be talking to Jonathan Toews of doing a PTO and workouts. And his agent, I bet his agent is basically doing his job, getting, letting everyone know that his client, Jonathan Toews, is healthy. He's spiritually fixed and he's ready to play hockey again. I would like to see it happen. We all do. We all want to see Jonathan Toews find the pursuit of happiness and the return of a great hockey player who helped the Blackhawks into a dynasty a decade ago. It would be awesome to see Jonathan Toews back in the NHL. And then speaking of South Florida sightings, we officially have a rat. Not actually throwing rats on the ice like 1996 and winning the cup last year. The Florida Panthers finally get a player that everyone hated Brad Marchand is a Florida Panther, and his press conference was hilarious. The press conference was just pure entertainment, and him and Bennett, he's like, yeah, he's still a scumbag, and then he's like, I like the red, it brings out my eyes. True, and he's wondering if he has a tan. Yeah, and he's a character. I mean, everyone's gonna like having him around. Sorry, Brad Marchand is going to be an entertaining player for the Florida Panthers. I don't know when he's going to be playing. They didn't say any specifics just yet. I feel he's going to be, it's either this week or next week, that Brad Marchand will be back in the lineup and making his debut with the Florida Panthers. I mean, yeah, it sucked the way it ended for him with the Bruins. He wanted a compromise deal, and the Bruins didn't want it. The Bruins, they were desperate for draft picks, and they just gave up on the season like that. I mean, if it weren't for the Charlie McAvoy injury and their start to the season, I see the Bruins would have been somewhat third or a wild card team right now. But the way things are, I think the Bruins are going to be a team that's going to be rebuilding right now, like beyond for the next 5, 6 years. It's a damn shame though, It a lot. Yeah, I feel bad for Pasta, McAvoy, and Swayman and the others. I feel really bad for that. I really do. Now let's get over to the games tonight. We have a light weight of games tonight. We got 4 games. We've got the Edmonton Oilers and the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo. That game's gonna be on ESPN Plus on any of the whole the whole platform streaming services. You've got the Detroit Red Wings at Ottawa playing the Ottawa Senators. Crucial game for both because it's all about getting into the playoffs, wild card, 2 points, 2 valuable points. The Red Wings, they could get ground, but they have the hard schedule. I mean, Ottawa, like they have the ground, they got the common ground. I see this one being a tight knit game. And then you've got the Chicago Blackhawks, Colorado Avalanche. That game, Colorado, very important indeed. They can take the lead, the third place lead in the Central Division. Blackhawks, I don't know what they're playing for, but at least it'll be somewhat of an entertaining game. And then it's a bittersweet thing for Austin Matthews. Him and the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing the first time in Salt Lake City, and basically the Utah Hockey Club, the formerly known as Arizona Coyotes. Last year, Austin Matthews scored his 50th and 51st goal in Arizona, and it's a bitter pill to swallow for Austin Matthews that he come from Scottsdale, Arizona, and he's playing against the team that doesn't even exist anymore. But I don't want to be a broken horse record, whatever, but Arizona will get an NHL team again, and I wouldn't be surprised Austin Matthews is part of it. But Utah and Toronto, crucial game for Utah to get those 2 points. Same thing with Toronto. They want to catch up with the Panthers, and Utah wants to catch up in the wild card standings. It's going to be a close game. I really see it will be a close game. And I got my predictions right here. I'm going with Edmonton, Detroit, Colorado, Utah. Those are my predictions who are going to win tonight. And this has been 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow on the following social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, etc. We'll be back here tomorrow recapping the games last for tonight, and we'll be giving you the latest trade rumors and news in the NHL. This has been 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo. Have a great day, everyone.